Guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to show you how I went from this color to this nice pretty red fall ombre color. So if you're interested in that, then just keep on watching. So to start off this hair color, I'm using my Kiss Red Velvet hair color and the Magenta mixed together. And I'm applying this directly onto the roots, and I'm bringing it down about half, not really halfway, but about 1/3 of the hair shaft. Also, you want to make sure you don't color the lace, so I'm going like very thin small sections up at the front, and I'm pushing the color forward with the very tip of my brush. Also, I would recommend using some sort of protectant just to kind of help ensure that you don't color the lace. So for coloring the sides, I'm trying to make sure that I don't bring it down too far because I want it to be face framing. So you want to make sure that you don't go as far down on the sides as you would in the back, and make sure that you pull both sides side by side so you can kind of see how far you're bringing your color down on each side, so it's kind of even on both sides if you're splitting it down the middle. Here, this is me just checking to make sure that my pieces on each side are pretty even. I also wanted a piece on both sides in the front to be a little bit higher than the rest of the hair, so it can kind of have some really bright pieces in the front. So yeah. Here I'm just sectioning off the back to separate the top from the back section because I'm not going to put any root color on the lower half of my hair because it's pointless. Nobody's gonna see it, so I'm just focusing putting in the darker color on the top. And now I'm just going in with the darker color all over the back, taking smaller sections still, making sure I'm coating both sides of the strand because you do not want your color to be patchy or uneven, so you really want to make sure that you blend it all the way through. As you can kind of tell, I make sure that I take my thumb and my index finger and my second finger and just kind of mesh it into the hair just to make sure it's completely blended. So as you start to get further down the back of the head, in those sections, I don't apply as much color to the root. I just lessen how much I'm applying because in a natural ombre, it goes from heavy to light. So I want to make sure I have a lot of light just as much as I have dark. Also, I don't know if you notice, but as you get closer towards the end of the darker shade, you want to flip your brush vertically and make sure you just soften up that harsh edge so there isn't a really definite line when you're doing your ombre. So this is what the color will look like on your roots when you are done with that. After this, I'm going in and I'm going to be lightening. I'm using my K-Pack from Joico developer in volume 30 and my Blonde Life lightener. I am licensed, so I did get this at a professional store, but you can go to Sally's and get whatever bleach you desire. Here I'm just kind of combing out my ombre as well, just to kind of make sure that it's soft and well blended. For my bleaching process, I'm taking vertical sections because it tends to just work easier for me when I'm working on wigs. So I'm just taking that hair and I'm brushing it out to make sure that I have no knots, no naps, because if you do, it will come out patchy and you do not want that. So here I'm just coating the very end of the hair on both sides, and as I get closer to the mid shaft, I start to go vertically and kind of place that bleach in sections to where it gives me a nice blended ombre, because you do not want harsh lines in your ombre at all. The fun thing about ombre is that if you do get a harsh line, you just make sure that you blend it out with your color, because I'm not going a drastic lift in this ombre, so it doesn't really matter if I'm messy or not, but I just want to make sure I'm very precise with my application. So here is what I'm talking about when I'm doing vertical sections to make sure that my color is blended all the way. I am just taking it and I'm whisking it back and forth in a vertical motion. So here I'm just showing you again the bleaching process. Make sure your hair is completely detangled, and from the mid shaft to the end, you are going to make sure you coat it on both sides all the way through to make sure it's evenly distributed. And then as you get closer to the middle of the mid shaft, you start going in vertical sections to blend it out and soften up that color. I'm also using aluminum foil to lock in the bleach and trap the heat in so it can oxidize and get lighter faster, because as you know, with wigs, it is not attached to anybody's human head, so it doesn't have natural body heat to warm up the bleach. So I'm just locking it in with the aluminum foil. So once you're finished lightening the hair, it should look something like this. Mine processed for about 45 minutes, but you just want to make sure you're watching it and keeping an eye on it. So for the color on the ombre, I'm using Sunset Orange and Truly Red. So for my mid shaft, I'm taking that Truly Red on wet hair. It doesn't matter, because the longer you let it sit, it's just gonna process anyway. So you can do it on wet hair. I just didn't really feel like blow drying it. It was pointless because I let this color sit overnight. So I'm just taking Truly Red and I'm blending it with my fingers all the way through, just to make sure it's evenly distributed and I'm not getting any patches in between. So now I'm taking Sunset Orange and I'm applying that all on the ends, but I'm also going to take it a little bit on top of Truly Red in order to give me a nice transition blend, because if not, it's going to look patchy and boxy, and you don't want it to be like burgundy, red, orange. You want it to be burgundy and red mixed together, and then you want it to be red and orange mixed together, because you want it to look effortless. If not, it will come out looking a mess. So once I was finished applying all of the color, I let this sit overnight. I was completely done. And then the next morning, I just washed the hair, rinsed all of the color out. I'm using a t-shirt to towel dry because I didn't have a towel, and t-shirts are actually better, less friction, so it was a lot easier for me. Now I'm just putting a little bit of product in it so I can prepare for the blow drying process. So I made a decision to not show you me blow drying this entire head because I feel like it was pointless, but I did want to show you me blow drying towards the end of it. But I was so pleased with how it turned out. It just looks super pretty. It just screams fall. I did decide that I was going to style it with flexi rods after wand curling it, so I will show you guys the finished results afterwards. So here is the final look. I definitely believe the curls just brought the color more to life. The hair that I'm using is One More hair or something like that. I can't remember. It was giveaway hair, but it was kind of frizzy on the ends with color in it, but I made it work. But I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial of me doing this color, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.